Hello, good evening, and welcome. Thank you for joining the Valencia Road, Kolb Road to Houghton Road Improvement Project public meeting for the 60% design. My name is Amanda Valenzuela. I am the Public Information Coordinator with the City of Tucson Department of Transportation and Mobility. Before we get started, I just have a few housekeeping items to run through before we get going here. If you are calling in, we ask that you stay muted for the entire meeting. You will not be able to ask questions over the phone, but you can text your questions to this number, 520-338-8515. Again, that is 520-338-8515. And for those of you joining virtually, you can ask your questions by typing in the question and answer chat box on the right side of your screen. We will have a question and answer session after the presentation. Also in the chat box, there will be a link to sign in to the meeting. Please take a moment to fill this form out. Also, this video is being recorded and will be posted on the project website to view later again, or for those who weren't able to participate tonight. And with that, I thank you again for joining us tonight, and I'd like to introduce Kevin Thornton, our project manager with Psomas, who will begin the project update presentation.
All right. Thank you, Amanda. My name is Kevin Thornton. I am the design team project manager with Psomas. We're an engineering firm. I'm here in Tucson. A little bit about my background. I'm a Tucson native. Actually grew up at 22nd and Kolb, so pretty close to this project, and a proud U of A Wildcat engineering grad. And I've been with Psomas for about 15 years now. Today's agenda, we kind of already did some welcome and introductions. You'll be meeting more of the team when we get to the question and answer period after the presentation. I am going to go over some of the new items since we had our last public meeting last December. Some of this may be familiar. There will be some new information as well. And then once I finish discussing the project, we're going to bring on Woods Fairchild with the Arts Foundation, and she's going to discuss the public art process for the project. And then after that, we'll get to question and answers. So again, please send in your questions and we'll try and get all those answered. All right, kind of a status update. We finished the plans in October, so about the 60% plans last month. Those have been posted on the website. You'll get a link to that here shortly. It'll be in the chat as well as on the slides here. And we have final design anticipated to be complete in the summer of next year. We're beginning right-of-way acquisitions fairly quickly. We've started working with Arizona State Land on some right-of-way we need from them, and other right-of-way acquisitions will begin early next year, and will be complete with right-of-way acquisitions in 2022. Utility relocations will also take place in 2022, and we're anticipating construction beginning in 2023 with an approximate 18-month duration. All right, some of the primary design features of Valencia Road include 6 travel lanes with median islands. The outside edge will be curved for portions of the corridor. There will be bike lanes in both directions. Sidewalk will be included on the south side of Valencia between Old Vale and Houghton. Multi-use path will be included on the north side of the road all the way from the Kolb intersection that was completed last year or so, all the way to Houghton. We'll include Florida T intersections at Old Vale Road and Nexus Road, and I'll go into those in a little bit more detail here shortly. There's an existing bike hawk at the Harrison Greenway that will be maintained, so there will be a bike hawk in the future at the Harrison Greenway. We will be doing drainage improvements, make sure everybody has all-weather access. Street lighting, continuous street lighting throughout the corridor will be included. As mentioned, there will be some public art, and we'll talk about that process here shortly. And then landscaping and irrigation. All right, so here's the Florida T, or also known as a green T intersection. The idea between a Florida T intersection is that in this case, westbound traffic, so traffic going from Houghton to Kolb Road, would not need to stop for a signal. They would continue through. The only time they would need to stop is if a pedestrian was crossing the road. So a pedestrian would be able to trigger a signal to stop traffic here. Otherwise, that direction of travel would be continuous. Eastbound traffic would have to stop for Old Vale traffic to make lefts out, as well as Valencia road traffic to make lefts into Old Vale. However, just having the free flow on the for westbound traffic really improves the operations of the overall intersection. There will be a signal at this intersection as well, and it will include left turn arrows in both directions or all directions, as well as a right turn arrow for Old Vale Road traffic going north to eastbound. Nexus is very similar. Again, westbound traffic would be able to go through without having to stop for a signal unless a pedestrian triggers the signal. These work basically because there's no opposing leg, so there's no leg on the north side of the intersection. So that's why Florida T's work rather well in these situations. Same situation, there will be left turn arrows in each direction at the signal, as well as a right turn arrow for northbound traffic. We talked a little bit about two-stage lefts last time in December, and we have decided to implement a two-stage left at James Dean. That's right over here. And what that allows is for traffic that's coming out and trying to turn left onto Valencia, is to give them a little staging area over here where they're out of traffic and then able to merge into Valencia when there's an opening. It's kind of similar to a Florida T, but not signalized or anything like that. It really just gives the driver a place to stage while they wait for that opening to get into traffic. At Bull Rider, we also included what's known as a loon, and this basically allows large vehicles to make the U-turn. So we're talking about semi trailer trucks, things like that. This is where they would be able to make a U-turn. Since at the Florida T intersections, they would not be able to make a turn there, a U-turn there, because of the nature of those style of intersections. So we have one of these for eastbound traffic, and then we have one for westbound traffic that is west of Old Vale Road. This is the landscape concept. Things to note on here is that the existing landscape on the south side of the road, so this is up kind of against the Rita Ranch development. It's our intent to have as much of that landscaping remain in place as possible. It's our intent to leave the existing sidewalk in place as much as possible, as well as the existing curb. Then everything north of there would be reconstructed and widened. And we're doing that to, A, there's some really nice vegetation already out there, and then B, to save money on the project. And this is what it looks like in plan view. As you can see, we have the 6 travel lanes, 11 feet, 11-foot travel lanes, 6-foot bike lane. There's the existing sidewalk I mentioned, 12-foot multi-use lane or multi-use path on the north side, as well as the 11-foot travel lanes and 6-foot bike lane on the north side as well. And I'm going to turn it over to Woods Fairchild with the Arts Foundation for Tucson and Southern Arizona, and she's going to talk a little bit about the process for public art.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Kevin. My name is Woods Fairchild, she and they. I'm one of the project managers with the Arts Foundation for Tucson and Southern Arizona. Welcome everybody. Thanks for taking time to tune in and hope that this can be helpful. I wanted to speak a little bit about, as this is a project that is starting to reach the phase where it has the opportunity to bring in artwork to your community, to your backyard. We are starting to begin that process, and so I wanted to speak a little bit today, just overall snapshot of what the public art process looks like, what kinds of things you can expect to get to know it a little bit more as we'll be going through this process shortly with this project. So I'm here to share with you some resources, ways that you can give input and get involved, provide like a A to Z outline of the public art process to share with you. But I wanted to first start with some top things to know about the public art process. And before I do that, I also want to give a shout out to the image that's on this slide here that you're looking at. This is with the Grant Road Phase 3-4 project that just reached final design of this giant red coyote that's going to be going in on Grant Road in some new green space, which we're very excited about, thanks to the community panel that's been serving on it in the city, and Joe O'Connell, who's the artist on that piece. So a few things to share on top things to know about the public art process. 1% of construction projects on city projects is designated towards public art for select city projects, and that's the funding that goes towards the artwork that you see as you drive by. The Arts Foundation for Tucson and Southern Arizona administers the city's public art process in accordance with the city's administrative directive policies on the public art process, which you can also find online. The Arts Foundation project manager, like myself and other project managers, we act to liaise. We act as a liaison to liaise between the artist, between the city, the Public Art and Community Design Committee, who's involved in the public art process, the ward representatives and offices, as well as the design team and the project panel of community members who are on those panels, new for each project, as well as the community at large. So that is my role in administering and orchestrating throughout this process between many entities of our community and artists and designers and construction workers. The project panelists represent the community. So for assembling a new project panel for any new project, that process also is in accordance with the administrative procedure policy that ensures that there's representation of our community and mostly ensuring representation of the local community, folks who live in that ward, folks who work in that ward, own businesses in that ward, or are stakeholders in any way using that area, and bringing in those folks to represent their community at the table on these projects is the role of that panel. And I'll talk more in a moment about ways to get in touch if you are ever interested in serving on a public art project panel. The artist is contracted through the city of Tucson directly, and panel meetings are open to the public. They are open to the public and communities to attend those panel meetings as non-voting members if you ever want to listen in and observe the process. Community input is collected at several points throughout the process, which I'll get to in a minute, at various public meetings, which can be in the form of open houses or neighborhood association meetings, other kinds of meetings like that. And lastly, the public art process is different every time in terms of how long it takes. It can take several months or longer to reach final design. And in accordance with the ADs, each public art project is presented at 1 to 2 public meetings before reaching final design to hear community feedback and offer insight. So now I wanted to share a little snapshot of the process from start to finish. There are two main phases throughout the public art process. The first phase is the artist selection process, and the latter phase is once we get into design and have commissioned an artist. So the artist selection phase begins with putting out live a call to artists that goes worldwide. It's a call for qualifications, and that is roughly the first start where we are at with this project now. The project panel is then assembled, as I mentioned, by the Arts Foundation, collaborating with the City Department and the Ward Office to receive nominations. And that panel is usually makes up 7 to 9 panelists on that panel, and that will be coming soon for this project. And again, we have ways for you to get involved in providing input. If you're not on that panel, or if you're interested in being on that panel, we have ways to get in touch. Folks, representation, again, who are on that panel include artists, both arts professionals and working artists, as well as I emphasize, local community members, stakeholders to the area, as well as the design team of architects and engineers, as well as the city project manager. Then once assembling the panel and the call to artists has been out for 30 days, it closes and we intake however many applications we've received, which can range from 30 to 130. The artist and artist team or the panel commissions and selects an artist or an artist team, and the panel, they then work with the panel or they get approved to then be able to go into the design phase and work with the panel. That approval process to approve the selected artist goes through several entities with the city, as well as that Public Art and Community Design PAC-D committee also approves the panel's recommendation for who they've selected to be commissioned. So then that allows us to jump into the design phase with whoever the artist is who has been selected for commission for the project. Again, it's a request for qualifications, and so the artist is really commissioned based on their not a specific proposal that they've offered, but based on their qualifications to be qualified for the job, to be able to provide the type of work that the community is envisioning to go there, and then it's collaboratively. They go to the drawing board collaboratively from the very beginning. So what that process really looks like on the ground is that we start off with there's 3 points of community involvement here, and it starts with this first point, whereas we kick off the panel process in the design phase with a meeting that's more open to the public. So we have what's called a Meet the Artist and Community listening session, and this is where we invite a broader community in addition to who've been selected to be representatives on the panel to attend this meeting and share stories, to meet the artist, hear about what their connection is to the area. We often try to commission an artist who has a connection to the area. So inviting folks to meet the artist and hear their connection, as well as giving community the opportunity to share their stories of the histories, the culture, what they believe makes this area unique, that they would like to share with the artist to be able to take into consideration before they go to the drawing board in terms of what kind of stories do we want to be represented in this piece. From there, the panel directs the artist on what the community has shared. Based on these stories, we really want the piece to be reflective, to be unique, and to be reflective of the area and what makes it unique. The panel's job is to direct the artist in reflecting and reiterating what they've heard from the community. The artist then develops their first concept, might be one, might be a few, and from there there's several ongoing panel meetings, however much time they need to collaborate to do a back and forth of providing feedback to the artist until they're able to reach a design that they are happy with, at which point they go back out to the community. So it's another opportunity where there's another open community public meeting to present a proposed design to the community, hear broader community's feedback again. The panel then resumes for another meeting to reconvene. The panel again shares and directs the artist based on what they've heard from last input from the community. If there's big changes and big input or drastic input, then there's an opportunity for a third community meeting, but at that point it can be based on where they're at and whether or not that's necessary based on how much feedback we received from the community that second time around. They then reach a final design. The last leg is to go through risk review, which essentially just means that it's reviewed by a risk manager with the city to ensure that it's not going to knock over in a storm or nobody's going to get hurt on it. And then it's approved by the city to give a formal notice of to proceed to the artist to proceed into fabrication. So that's the timeline of what it looks like of the community involved process through the design phase as the artist works with the city and the community and the panel to create the artwork that goes in our community. Lastly here, the city has developed a public art survey that we would like to share with you all if you're interested in providing, starting to share some of those stories with us about what makes this area unique. If this area of Valencia Road is an area that you have particular ties to and you would like to share stories and give input on what could be inspiration for the artwork, we would love to hear your input on that survey. If you or someone that you know might be interested in serving on the panel, you may reach me at my email, which I've provided there, and I'll also be put in the chat as well. And definitely encourage folks to stay tuned about upcoming other upcoming input opportunities. Public meetings are often promoted on our social media and on our website, as well as you can also sign up for our newsletter as well on our website, and our website address has been included there as well, and it'll be in the chat as well at Arts Found Tucson. That's our both our handle on social media and our website. Thank you so much.
All right. All right, thanks for your input. As mentioned, I know I went through the project rather quickly, so if there are specific questions you have, please put them in the chat and we will answer some of those. For information, including a lot of the design information, we've included that at the link there shown. I'm not going to read that out, but it should be included in the chat as well. And I think with that, let's go ahead and get started with some of the questions that have come in. Let's see, the first one I see here is, will the roadway be elevated above current plane as was done with Houghton between Rita and Marianne Cleveland? Drainage was not addressed, nor was the comprised privacy of the residents whose homes were parallel to Houghton. In this case, the roadway is, as I mentioned, we're trying to match the existing elevation, particularly with the curb on the south side of the road. So near, or certainly in front of Rita Ranch, we're not anticipating raising the road at that location. Most of the existing drainage crossings are existing. We will be extending those for the new widened roadway. But at least in front of the residents, we don't anticipate raising the road at all. The next question is, will Valencia's curves be straightened out, or will the new road follow the current road? The new road will more or less follow the current road alignment. However, that alignment does meet the design speed for the road, which is 50 miles an hour. So it will be, from an engineering standpoint, those curves are fine. And yes, we will be following the existing alignment. Next question, will your public meeting be virtual or face-to-face? Several people have asked me, and I believe that has specifically to do with the public art public meetings. Woods, do you want to answer that one?
Sorry, can you read it for me once more?
Will the public meeting be virtual or face-to-face?
Great question. Public meetings can be either virtual or in person. I meant to share that. Thank you. Great question. I can't determine that at this point, as those are have not been scheduled yet, as we aren't in that phase of the project yet. So far, we've been doing mostly virtual meetings for the safety of COVID. However, I hope that that will start to transition to more frequent in-person meetings very soon.
Thanks, Woods. All right, the next question. I live off Frost by the bike light. Will we be able to take a left going out and coming into our area? Let me share the roll plot. And I'll go over to Frost. Takes a little while to update here, sorry. It's been slower than usual. I guess while that's loading up, the answer is yes, there will be a median opening at Frost to be able to turn left out. There will also be a left turn lane going into Frost there. And it's slowly coming up here. And I still didn't go far enough. Almost there. All right, so that is loading up here. And I shouldn't have zoomed in. Okay. So here's the, hold on, my lights just went out. All right, here's the Harrison Greenway going north-south. The existing bike hawk is right in this area. Here's Frost Drive. And as mentioned, you will be able to make a left out of Frost Drive to go westbound on Valencia. You'll also be able to make a left into Frost Drive. Okay. There's a lot of trucks now, so the noise level is loud and will only grow louder. Is something going to be done to help the homes on Valencia? We are doing a noise study. The measurements have been taken. However, the noise study is not complete yet, and we have not seen a draft of that yet. Once we do, that information will be shared. But at this point, we don't have the results of the noise study yet. Let's see, next question. What ingress egress plans do you have to ensure safe and effective property access? Will acceleration, deceleration lanes be placed across the entirety of the frontage? We do have right turn lanes at most of the roads at along Rita Ranch here. Generally, we do not include acceleration lanes other than the ones that I mentioned for Nexus at the Florida T and Old Vale at that Florida T. Those are left turn acceleration lanes. But we do have right turn lanes at most of the entrances throughout the corridor. The flyer noted improved asphalt surface. Will this result in lower road noise for residents? We will be using an asphalt that's called a terminal blend. It has some rubber in it, which does tend to help with noise a bit. It is not the older rubberized asphalt that was used for a while, because that just proved to not have the longevity. It required a lot more maintenance. So that is not the case, but it is a terminal blend, which does include a little bit of rubber that helps a little bit with noise. Let's see, next question. Also in regards to Vale Christian Church, I understand that additional frontage will be utilized by the new road. Will safe access be provided for users to pull off the road and unlock gates safely? What type of vehicle size are you planning for this effort? We did measure this, and I believe that we still had at least 20 feet between the edge of the road and the gates, which would be adequate for a passenger vehicle. Hopefully that answers the question. The next question is, we'd like to request no cocoons and no corn cobs, please. It will be nice to have our actual Rita Ranch neighbors on this panel and not people making art decisions for our area. When will you be selecting the art selection committee? Woods? You're on mute, Woods.
Oops, on mute. Thank you. Thank you, Jan, for providing your input and for asking that question. In terms of selecting the committee, that would be with early 2022 would be my guess within the first couple months, as the call will be going live first. It will then be open for a full month. Processing those applications, getting the panel assembled will then be next, and doing that outreach. So early 2022. Jan, feel free to, I put my email in the chat if you want to contact me. I would love to get in touch with you and hear about your connection to the area, if you would like to serve, or if there are folks who you have in mind. I would love to chat.
All right, next question. I apologize, I missed the beginning where traffic control is mentioned. Will there be any additional traffic signals, or will we have the bike crossing at the Loop, Nexus, in Marion, Cleveland? Excuse me. No additional traffic signals. The existing traffic signals at Old Vale and Nexus will be upgraded to Florida T intersections, and the existing bike hawk at the Harrison Greenway will be widened to accommodate the new roadway width. Next question, will those living on Arizona Madera Drive in Valencia be able to exit left onto Valencia Road? Let me open up the exhibit again. Arizona Madera is over at the right end. So at Arizona Madera, we are planning to have a left in and a right out and a right in. We did not include a left out because you can actually get over to Old Vale Road and go out that way to make a left onto Valencia. And we think that's a safer movement than trying to exit onto Valencia here. Was the noise study after the completion of the bridge or before? Traffic significantly increased since the bridge east of Houghton and the return of many to daily commute after COVID work from home. The traffic study was completed after, the noise study was completed after the bridge was completed, so the work east of Houghton Road. The noise study was, the measurements were taken last month, and they're actually doing the study right now, so it would be after that work was done. Your plan for Florida T at Nexus will require trucks and vehicles to come through the parking lot so they can get to Nexus. With Florida T's, you have to set up a raceway from Houghton to Pantano for the 2 outside lanes going westbound. Not sure I understand the question. So trucks coming into the shopping center would probably turn left at Nexus and go in how they do now. If they're coming from the west, they could turn into any of these other driveways. I assume they'd go in behind the shopping center there. Leaving, they would have to go out to Nexus and then out, either out to the west, or if they're going to the east, they can come back out the way they came. I'm not sure I understand the comment about a raceway from Houghton to Pantano for the 2 outside lanes going westward. If you'd like to clarify that, go ahead, but yeah, I'm not sure I understand that, unless somebody else on the team understands. Will grasses be planted in the landscaping? We don't want to deal with the issue along Houghton with overgrown grass along the walking path. Jason or Amy, do you want to introduce yourself and maybe answer that question, please? Amanda, Jason, and Amy are muted.
Sorry, I'm trying to unmute.
We can hear you.
All right, it looks like Jason or Amy, you should be able to unmute yourselves now.
Yeah, good evening. My name is Jason Kuklinski. I'm a landscape architect at Norris Design. I don't believe we have grasses currently in our plant list. If we do, we will make sure it is removed. Thank you for the comment.
Next question, the run-up going westbound out of James Dean looks pretty short. Will it have a light? It will not have a light. That is an unsignalized intersection. The idea would be that you pull out, and this would be your waiting area for an opening in traffic. Then you pull in and continue on to the west. We feel it's safer than not having the 2-stage left, where folks tend to pull out and end up hanging out into the eastbound lanes, where their tail end is often in there. So it gives a safe area to wait while you make that maneuver, is the idea there. But it is not intended to be an acceleration lane. It's really intended to be an opening, and then when it's open, then you make that maneuver. You said you were doing a noise study. What are you looking for excessive noise areas? So noise study, what happens is we follow the RTA's noise study requirements, and we take existing traffic noise measurements, we calibrate the model, and then we take that model and forecast what the traffic's going to be like 20 years down the road. And then if the noise meets certain criteria, including actually how loud it is, as well as being feasible and reasonable to build noise mitigation, then those mitigation walls will be built. At this point, we don't know, again, what the results of the study are yet, but that is kind of, excuse me, the short version of the process. Will this meeting's recording and presentation, oh, it looks like that one's already been answered. And yes, it will be recorded and made available on the website. We commonly have vehicles much larger than passenger vehicles who need to have access. I think this is going back to the Vale Christian Church question. We have met with the church, and we will continue to meet with the church, so we can have specific discussions on that whenever they're available and the team's available. So yeah, we can absolutely talk about that some more. Uh, 20 feet does not allow any buses or semis to access. That's a necessity for us at Vale Christian Church. Again, I would propose that we meet with the church and discuss this specifically. What I don't know is if the buses, I think the gates are generally open during business hours, and do the buses need to stop and open and things like that. So, but yeah, we can talk about that with the church. Who pays for removal of Florida T at Old Vale when the state land department sells the land? The land north of Old Vale, Valencia, had been looked at for a high school site for Vale. I think this would be a good question to introduce Bob Roggenthien, the city's project manager, and let him take that one.
Kevin, you're gonna have to reread the question.
Who pays for the removal of the Florida T at Old Vale when the state land department sells the land? The land north of Old Vale, Valencia, had been looked at for a high school site for Vale.
Currently, and I believe in the future, that particular land is leased out to Davis-Monthan Air Force Base, and they will. There's a number of limitations to that land. So what happens is usually the developer, if it is sold, the developer usually picks up that cost to remove and rebuild a signal at that location.
All right, the next question is, how will you solve the ponding at Valencia and Old Vale? Let me get over to Old Vale. So we are regrading the intersection a bit to help with the ponding. We're collecting water that's coming down Valencia in a catch basin before it ever gets to the intersection, and then it'll go north across the roadway and into a proposed channel that will carry the water down and outside of the project limits. So we have looked at that very carefully. It came up early in the design process as a concern, and we are addressing ponding there at Old Vale and Valencia. Let's see here, next question. Will the streets be lit similar to Houghton on the sides of the road or in the middle of the road? Can we ensure the lights all have shields so they aren't coming into the residential neighborhood? The lights, the street lights will be on the sides of the road. They will not be in the median, and we have discussed adding shields to the lights on the south side of the road, so they do shield the residents there from the light. So yes, those will be included in the project. How can I give input on art if I live in this area, go to school in this area, own a business in this area, etc.? We talked about the art survey, as well as contacting Woods if you're interested in being on the arts panel. Woods, is there anything you'd like to add to that? All right.
Oh, that's great. Thanks.
I believe that is all the questions we've received so far. See, give folks just a minute here to see if anything additional comes in. How you solve the ponding at Valencia and Old Vale intersection. I just went over that. Again, we'll be catching the water before it gets to the intersection that's coming towards and taking it to the north into a channel and then outside of the project limits. And we're doing a bit of regrading of the intersection to make sure that ponding won't be an issue there. All right, we still have a few more minutes if anybody has questions. I'm not seeing it. Is there anywhere to perform a U-turn on this length of road? So you're correct there. You can't make a U-turn at Old Vale. However, we are making accommodations for a U-turn at Bull Rider, and this includes accommodations for a U-turn for large vehicles, this is kind of known as a loon. And it would be coming out here, and then those larger vehicles, including semis, would be able to make a U-turn and head back that direction. Going the other direction, there is a similar opening to the west of Old Vale, and then east of Nexus, there are several locations to be able to make U-turns, including at this location. This is where the new apartment buildings are. You'll be able to go left into the apartments, left out, as well as make a U-turn. And then at Frost, you can make U-turns, as well as locations east of Frost. What is the time duration for serving as a public art panelist? Woods, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, great. Great. The duration for serving on as a panelist, definitely want to emphasize that it is different for every project. The duration, it's definitely a commitment to be on a public art panel, as it is more than the artist selection phase, but rather you continue to serve throughout the whole design phase. And that's the piece that is can really vary and is a very exciting process to be part of. However, it's definitely important for folks who might be interested in serving on a panel to really think about your availability to be able to serve on a panel and the time commitment that it requires, and it can very much vary from from 6 months to a couple of years, however long, in terms of reaching that final design. Thank you.
And I was reminded that we will be including speed feedback signs on Valencia. So those are the signs that will tell you what speed you're going. And those have been shown to keep traffic speeds a little bit lower. So those will be installed on this project as well. Let's see if any other questions have come in. Not yet. We do have a few more minutes for questions if anybody has anything. Bob, is there anything you'd like to mention that maybe I missed or forgot to discuss?
I think James reiterated that through the residential areas, we may be reducing the speed limit to 45.
Correct, yeah. Currently, we merge into Valencia from the road next to Amazon just before the Goodwill building. Will that now become the far right-hand lane as part of 3 lanes? Let me zoom over there. And yes, that is the case. You can see here the far right-hand lane is this one, and it will turn into the far right-hand lane of the 3-lane section. When do you anticipate starting this project? How's the timing compared to the widening of Houghton north of Escalante? This project is anticipated to begin in 2023, and the widening on Houghton north of Escalante is anticipated to begin in 2024. There will likely be at least a little bit of overlap between the two projects. Is the bike crossing of Valencia Road from Fantasy Island going to be maintained? Yes, I believe that you're asking about the Harrison Greenway and the Bike Hawk. That will be maintained as part of the new project. And a reminder to follow the Department of Transportation and Mobility on social media. Get updates on this project and all projects within the city at Twitter at Tucson_DTM, Facebook at TucsonDTM, and Instagram at Tucson_DTM. Still have time for a few more questions. Let's see. All right, looks like they're slowing down. So we'll have about 8 more minutes, I believe. If anybody has any questions, if I didn't answer something adequately, like a little more clarification or additional information. Let's see, seeing if there's any maybe frequently asked questions. We talked about Florida teas. Talked a little bit about landscaping, drainage. Talked about street lighting. I think we hit all the frequently asked questions. Oh, there's some more. How many new stoplights on Valencia? There won't be any new ones. There will be remain one, or we'll be converting the ones at Nexus and Old Vale into Florida Tees, but there will not be any new traffic signals on this stretch of Valencia. How does this project connect to Houghton? Houghton was widened several years ago, and so we will be tying into that widened intersection approximately 500 feet west of the intersection. So we'll be tying right in, as you can kind of see where the blue ends here. This was all done previously. We'll be restriping a little bit, but other than that, the intersection was completed a few years ago. Do we anticipate that the traffic impact will be similar to the Houghton project? I'm going to assume that this question has to do about during construction. There will be traffic impacts during construction. There always are during construction projects. We'll do our best. I think on this one, the nice thing is that we are planning on leaving the existing roadway, at least in front of Rita Road, or excuse me, in front of Rita Ranch, in place, and so traffic will be able to travel on that road while the contractor builds the new roadway, or the new half of the roadway north, and then they'll be able to move traffic over. So I think that will make things fairly easy, or easier anyhow, during construction. Will there be another public meeting for this project? I believe that there is another one planned. There are certainly at least the art ones that Woods had mentioned, and I believe there'll be at least another public meeting before construction on the project overall. In other words, during construction, 1-lane dirt road. No, generally we require the contractor to maintain the paved surface for any extended periods of roadway construction. So you should have a 2 lanes or 1 lane in each direction, at least at a minimum, on a paved surface during construction. There was a neat bench with a decorative shade structure on Pantano Road. Would that classify as art? And it's by the bike path, Fantasy Island, and Greenway. Woods, I'm not sure if you know if that location, if that's a public art piece or not.
Which Greenway?
Says there's a neat bench with decorative shade structure on Pantano Road. Would that classify as art if it's by the bike path, Fantasy Island, and Greenway? Oh, okay. I think they're asking, they like the bench with the decorative shade structure on Pantano Road, and I think they're asking if something similar could be installed at the Greenway in Valencia. Hopefully I got that right, whoever asked that question. I think that's what the question is.
Got it. Sure, I can speak to that a bit. So yeah, public art can absolutely show up in lots of different ways. It can be a standalone structural piece. It can be a mural. It can be integrated artwork as designs on the side of a bridgeway, or it can be interactive. So that can include amenity, artistic amenities or artwork intertwined with existing amenities like, public seating, benches, picnic tables, things like that. Absolutely. I'm glad that you enjoy that piece there. And something like that could absolutely be that part of the public art process for sure. If not, also public art in working with the community. If a public art piece goes up, for example, in a new park area, community can also vocalize if they have interest in adding benches to that area to be near the artwork, things like that in the city. That conversation can absolutely take place. Thanks for asking that great question. Love to have public seating.
All right, 1 second, my light went out again. All right, next question, more of a statement, I believe, for Ms. Fairchild. The Rita Ranch Neighborhood Association has put out the word asking for people interested in being on the art panel. So far, we have 4 people interested, and I'll send those to you later.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Next question, will there be additional Rita Ranch monument signs in this area, or would that be art? No additional Rita Ranch monument signs are planned as part of the project, and I will let Woods answer the question about would that be art?
In terms of additional Rita Ranch monument signs, would that be art? By monument signs, do we mean artistic kind of roadway signs, like identifying that you're entering Rita Ranch neighborhood or something like that?
Yeah, these signs are they're walls, and they have Rita Ranch on the side of them. Right,
totally. Something like that, absolutely, yes, can be something of what could come out of a public art process for sure. Yes.
All right. Next question, how many new stoplights on Valencia? No new stoplights. Again, we're reconfiguring the ones at Old Vale and Nexus, and then the one at the Bike Hawk at the Harrison Greenway. Next question, I hope the monument at the southwest corner of Old Vale and Valencia remains. Should not be removed for this project. What are the plans for that corner when you build it up? That monument sign will remain. It is not in an area or even really all that close to any areas that will be regrading. So that will remain in place following this project. And I think that is all the questions that we've received and about all the time we have. Amanda, anything to add or any additional words of wisdom?
Yeah, I would just like to thank everybody for joining us this evening. And if there were additional questions you had that you didn't have a chance to, you can reach out to the project team through the website or any of the links that we had shared this evening. And we'll go ahead and conclude the meeting tonight. Thank you all again for coming.
Thanks, everyone.